could definitely adjust this.
Oh, it really has been 5 years because Superman just did the 80th anniversary.
Oh God, what did I break?
How dare you?
Everything.
All right, which way do I need to go? That way? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just
Cover that space.
No, the other way.
no, you're good.
There. You're good. Yeah.
You didn't even touch it. You're like, there, you're good.
Oh, we live? It's happening. We need to share this on to somebody. Share it onto the Facebook page, please, and thank yous on YouTube Live. Hey, what's going on, FanSplash fans? There's the camera. Welcome to our post Man of Steel watch party discussion, where we're going to talk about some things we liked, didn't like, problems that we had, even though we were, just semi paying attention to the movie. Get out of here, Tail. Yeah, we have a first timer with us that heard none of the dialogue or any of the amazing moments of the movie, but is free to give an opinion on her thoughts on not liking Superman. But we will start out with. I forgot when you came in to the movie.
Probably a couple minutes.
When they were surrounded by this ice-looking thing, and they were just standing there with this like really intense look on their face.
That's very descriptive.
Yeah.
I think when Lois first discovered who Clark was.
Well, right before that, because I think it was Zod that I first saw, and it was everybody else because it wasn't Lois. Like I saw Clark getting into, what was it, the spaceship, right?
When they first discovered the spaceship?
Yeah. But
Okay.
then I was still there before that.
Oh, you were the chest hair at the oil tanker.
Nope, before that.
Even before that.
Even before that.
So Krypton?
I think so.
Okay,
It
so
was like some alien-looking kind of thing, and they were just.
oh, basically the beginning. Okay,
Yeah,
we're good.
Sure, why not?
All right, guys. So I should have given you the prompt so you had time to think about it. But on the fly, that's what we're gonna do. The first question that goes out to everybody is, what is your single favorite, not moment, but aspect of the film? What about Man of Steel did they absolutely nail, or what is the reason why you enjoy it? If you really didn't enjoy it, you can either say one thing you liked about it or just mum's the word.
Realistically, I guess I'll just jump in and start. For me, it felt like a complete movie. I kind of mentioned it while we were watching the movie. They took the time with Man of Steel. The score was worked on, the cameras were worked on, the script was worked on, the characters were worked on. Everything about the movie felt complete. It didn't feel like it needed an extended version. It didn't feel like it needed more storytelling. I feel like we got everything we needed.
It felt like you got the director's vision of what he wanted to make.
Like I felt like with this we got an absolute base for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is a shame that we got Suicide Squad, we got Justice League, we got BVS after we got this movie, because this movie set such a foundation for DC. And Wonder Woman was a great follow-up even, but this is still DC's strongest movie so far. I have to say.
I agree with everything you say, Dan.
I would just say, like, overall, like, it feels personable in a way. Like, you actually get to see a side of Superman I feel like we don't see, really.
He's always been a very hard to relate to character.
Yeah, because he's literally Superman.
Right.
So, but at the same time, like, overall, the movie just actually makes you feel genuine emotion, which I feel a lot of, like, superhero movies and stuff like that just lack most of the time. So, actually feel emotion while seeing fight scenes like that,
to want to cheer.
and combine it so well, I think it's just perfect. Along with the score, though.
I think that's a really good point, and I would be remiss not to mention the score. I listen to the score when I work out. I listen to it when I'm driving. I love the Man of Steel score. But I think my favorite aspect is, I brought it up multiple times while we were watching it, when we were actually staying focused the few times that we were. It's the world building. Like the first 20 minutes on Krypton, to all the political drama of Zod, and just the conversation, the topical conversations about being born or bred to do a very specific thing and not being able to break the mold, and all the story that we got with Zod. I just love that whole thing and what it meant to the ongoing story. It made Krypton and Superman's story more relevant and more interesting than it's ever been.
Okay, so before I walked into this movie, nobody knew that I didn't watch it yet. Jesse hasn't talked through the whole movie.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Thanks for
I
stopping.
mean, I'm pretty sure everyone did.
But
There's light.
As
on
somebody who
others.
didn't watch it yet, but has seen, BBS, all the other freaking Justice League, Wonder Woman.
Well, at least by comparison, you saw the good one.
Okay, but from what I'm gonna say, I have to appreciate the armor.
Like,
Zod's armor.
oh, the Kryptonian armor, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's actually showing us technology that we do not have.
Right.
What we should have got with Ares.
Yeah.
Which we didn't.
That didn't look like burning, melting garbage.
Which we didn't get with a lot of other DC films, which we should have got with, but we didn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, it
So
felt.
aesthetics for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aesthetics.
The aesthetics. I mean, just like what else? Like it felt.
It felt like
complete.
a complete DC film that we should have got.
It
throughout
feels
every
like
other film that we should have
it
seen.
feels like a week before production was wrapping up. They were like, "Oh shit, costumes!" You know, which is
We forgot that.
which is what like every other DC movie has almost felt like.
Like Thrift Shop Squad?
Yeah, no,
This guy's God?
exactly that. They're like, "Oh fuck, we should run by a Value Village before we actually film this."
Like,
Oh
not to
shit, we
mention
forgot the
Harley
mustache.
Quinn
All right.
Did
No,
that just end the
valid-
discussion?
All
there?
valid points. Moving. All right. So
Why would you say that?
we don't have to go into super detail here, but what is the favorite moment of the movie? And if you're battling between a couple, just pick one. Somebody might cover your other one. Let's start.
I would
What? Don't start.
I'm
Okay, Dan.
battling. Yeah.
I would say overall, like, favorite moment for me is like how, like I just talked about, how it's like personable and relates to like people, or people can relate to it in a way, is the final scene when it like is him as a child and he has like the cape on. And, like,
Yeah.
his dad's watching him and like the mom is so proud of him. And, like, that scene just like, and the like score is just like right there in the background. Like, it just blends so well, and it's just, I don't know, for me that scene like encapsulates the whole movie.
I think that's very, very well put. Alex, do you have something, or you need to keep it on me?
Please
Okay.
come to me last.
Okay, I'll keep it on me. My favorite moment, it is, it's a toss up. So I'll go with the world engine because of the score, and it's kind of a long scene because I'm talking about world engine on both sides of the world. But when you have Superman getting pummeled by the world engine over by the Indian Ocean, and he just gets like smashed in the ground, he has to stand up for humanity to battle against the Kryptonians, and you see him force his way up there. And then, of course, what they do with the CGI to kind of make his face resemble Christopher Reeve and just have that shout out to the past incarnations of Superman. And I think that moment kind of builds to what ultimately is him becoming Superman. Like the whole movie, it's Kal-El trying to figure out who he is. And when he looks up and he puts his arm up against the world engine, it's Superman.
Nope, it's your turn.
Okay, so I know this is against the rule, but I'm gonna nail two scenes.
All right, we'll
First,
allow it.
yeah. First one would have to be the Feyre fight in Smallville, just because I mean the way she moved between opponents, the way she was fighting Superman, it all felt exactly like we were talking about in the movie. It felt like what a Dragon Ball Z movie could have the potential to be.
Absolutely.
You know, it felt like if we were ever to make this movie, whoever choreographed this needs to be on board. And it was quality. I mean, it didn't feel like, yeah, you see everything happening in the CGI. It didn't feel like garbage though. It felt again like so well choreographed. The one though that I'd have to say is actually the winner would have to be the opening of the movie where you're on Krypton, because you have like this imagery of all these different planes in this world. You have these like, I mean, these creatures, you know, that
They don't hold your hand. They're like,
Yeah.
here's Krypton, and they just like throw you in there.
They don't hold your hand at all. You get thrown into this sci-fi world. You know, like you have like these weird cattle. You have these flying dragons that are like griffins. I mean,
You got the technology, the lasers,
you
the
got
armor,
you got so much technology. You've got the architecture. You've got the clothes and culture.
the
Like,
hierarchy. Of,
the hierarchy, the politics, the romance. Like it hits you with everything. You could have just watched this part of the movie and been convinced that you weren't watching Superman, you were watching the sci-fi space drama. And I mean, easily every time I've watched Man of Steel, I get pulled away in this part of the movie forgetting that I'm watching a Superman movie. You know,
Oh,
I
definitely.
don't know. I mean, I feel like Krypton was the best possible way they could have opened up this movie. and we'll never have to see Krypton again. And I mean, and I'm okay with that, you know, because I felt like I got shown everything that I possibly could have been shown.
Phantom Zone.
Yeah, the Phantom Zone. I mean, Zod. So we got to see their military. We got to see their weapons. We got to see their security. We got to see, you know, their homes, their plant life, their animal life, their birth. Like we went through the entire like biodrome of what that species, like what that planet entailed.
They did a lot in a little amount of time.
Yeah.
Just funny that you had said like they threw us into like Krypton, literally just kind of like how Superman just gets thrown into Earth.
Yeah,
they did better showing us a new world than any Star Wars movie has done so far. The only argument I could say of just being thrown into a new world and having to be okay with it would be Coruscant, which was a future New York City, you know, in Star Wars Episode 2. Other than that, like nothing has really felt genuine. Feels like a small village with a bunch of dumb sand people.
I feel at the same time.
Racist.
No, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's how I felt. Like we've really been given such mediocre like planet introductions from Star Wars. I mean, even with like the vast majority of films, like I don't know, John Carter on Mars. You know, like it felt so forced and so fast, whereas Krypton felt so natural. It felt so easily like walkable for learning about this world that you knew nothing about.
But I think it's more like vital though for this film to show like Superman's background and Zod's motives and everything, as opposed to Star Wars. Like it's not really,
not every planet is part of who the character is.
It's not vital at all. I feel like to the storyline, but that's just my opinion on it. But
all right, we've talked about things that we like and enjoy about the movie. I think I want to.
You don't like anything about the movie?
She likes aesthetics, but this might be an opportunity to hop in here.
It's also her first time watching it, though. I mean, it's different.
This happened after like seeing it 10 times or whatever.
10 times. Those are rookie numbers.
So I want to say, if there's one thing, just one thing in the movie that I think could have been handled better, what is it, and how would you have changed it? What is the little change that you would make?
I'd say the decisions of the people. Like you see the scene where Perry is running away from the crashing building in this line with people, and he's the only one who makes the conscious decision to dip it into the alley the opposite way that the building is falling. Right. And everybody else is still running in the line of fire. Like obviously the building falls and crushes them. And granted, yeah, that would happen. I mean, people would just be dumb and not learn to change their direction. But I feel like we get that very same aesthetic in every large city destruction film. Look at Independence Day. Look at The Avengers. Look at, anything where some force is coming in and destroying a giant city. They all do the exact same thing. They just run in one line and all just get toppled.
You want?
I mean, nothing really sticks out to me that I like would honestly change about it.
Oh, I just have one, and it's comic based. I would have changed how Jonathan died. I understand for the reason of the film why it went that way, but to me it's always impacted me more that Jonathan dies in a way that Clark is so helpless to do anything about. In the comics, he dies of like a long fight with cancer, and having Clark have to slowly watch that happen like over the course of like a few years is just detrimental. And it's something that you talk about, relatability and things that humanize the character. Him feeling like no matter how strong he is, no matter how fast he is, he has to watch his dad die, I think is one of the most tragic things that is not gotten enough focus on in the Superman lore. And I don't know if they would have had time to really address that in the movie, but I felt less satisfied knowing he could have gone out differently.
Well, considering how long the scene is for the tornado too, they could have added another 5 minutes and had in some more flashbacks of him and his dad, and then also involved like the hospital, like him dying of cancer and stuff like that, and have like that maybe his last words that are like so impactful to Superman and his like decisions throughout the film. But at the same time, I feel like it wasn't like a horrible death. But
no, it's not horrible. Like I said, it's just
But I agree, it could have definitely been different and still been good and definitely benefited the film.
Did you have something?
So, I don't think it's more about the film, but more about the way Superman killed Zod. What if? It's a what if.
What ifs are okay.
He didn't have to kill Zod.
He just broke Zod's spine.
He didn't. Well, he could have done that.
They heal real quick.
Could have covered Zod's eyes with his hands.
Maybe.
But there's still different ways.
But what happens after that is my follow-up question.
The fight continues.
And then what happens?
Millions more
Or
Millions would die.
he
But-
freezes Zod's head.
He didn't. How
Just-
that? How?
But we didn't get to see
Fuck
Arctic
that.
Breath until
Yeah.
Justice
It's
League.
like-
unfortunately.
That
Yeah.
doesn't happen yet.
Until Justice League, we didn't see Arctic Breath though. So
Nothing else as far as the critiques.
finding a different way to handle the Zod fight.
Yeah, because
I
if
think
he
space him.
Space him.
if he handled it differently, I mean, we wouldn't get the Superman we got in BVS.
We wouldn't get Doomsday.
We wouldn't get Doomsday. There would have been a lot of different ways to go with the film.
We could have gotten a decent Lex Luthor.
I don't blame Man of Steel for Dooms or for BVS, but
No.
I see your points.
It was like BVS's cop out.
All right, this is going to be the heated part. We're gonna hot button issues. We're gonna try to buzz through them. What do we think about Jonathan Kent's advice to Clark? For it, against it, why?
I feel like they really elsted it. In telling him that like Earth wasn't ready. He wasted so much time. I mean, I understood, you know, as a Christian farmer, just knowing that people can't handle the truth. Like people can hardly handle religion. So, you know, he didn't want Clark to go out and show these world and change everything the world believed in. But by doing so, Clark wasn't able to do more at an earlier age. Imagine the Superman he could have become if he started.
If he wasn't discovering himself at age
If he
33,
wasn't discovering himself when he was in his mid-30s.
fair enough.
I don't know. I feel like he discovered himself at like the most pivotal point that he could have, because it was kind of like his whole like puberty in a way of becoming a superhero was like Zod coming in and like
Crash course.
yeah, literally like just like throw him in with the wolves, and that's just how he grew to become Superman that we see in other films. So, but I feel like his advice is like it's what shapes him, and I feel like him saying that everyone was scared was definitely a good point, as we see at the military thinking he's an enemy until after saving a couple of them during the big fight scene. So, I feel like his advice was definitely like on point, pretty much.
I agree with that, and I think on twofold, it gave him time to kind of let it marinate and soak in. He got to think about these lessons from his Earth father through all these years, so that he could be the right Superman at that age. I also think that Jonathan's advice is one of the most real things about the whole movie, because he's not talking to Clark as Superman. He's like, this is my son,
Yeah.
and my
Oh,
priority is
100%.
to protect my one and only child, and I don't want bad things to happen.
Because of like decisions he could make.
Right, like this is gonna change religion through the world, and it does. We see in BVS, people worship him as like the second coming of Christ, pretty much. And Jonathan was scared of that, and he was right to be afraid of that. So when he's like, "What should I have done? Just let the kids on the bus die?" He says, "Maybe it's not because he actually thinks, yeah, let people die, but it's like we're being faced with this burden, with this choice that we never should have, and it's not fair for you at like, age 13 to have to make these choices, or to have to be this savior, this pinnacle of perfection for humanity." But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Jonathan Kent. What do you think about people saying there's no character development in the movie?
I mean, that's
Do you have any thoughts on the Jonathan Kent there?
That's fine.
Yeah, we just didn't skip it over.
I'm sorry.
oh, just also on, like
I'm waiting for
on the advice too, though. Like, even though it is kind of like fortune cookie, like just very generic, at the same time, it's like relatable to him as like a human, but echoes to him like when he's Superman.
Right.
So it's like generic, but at the same time, it has to kind of be because he's like focusing on him as his son, like you said, but also like knowing what he's capable of and what he might become one day. So
I'm sorry, did you want to say something on the
You're okay, Jesse.
okay, so there's a lot of people that say one of the reasons they don't like Man of Steel is because they don't think there's any character development, and that it's just destruction porn. What do you guys think of that?
Well, you're dumb.
Yeah, other than being blatantly wrong.
There is character development for everybody except for the Kryptonians.
Right.
Because they're genetically made. Oh, and Kevin Costner, of course, because he doesn't develop. But they were bred to be the exact same way that they were meant to be, and you find that out from Zod.
There's not a lot of development necessary for the Kryptonians.
There's not needed. They're a militant force. with Superman, you literally see him growing through the entire movie, whether it's with the flashbacks, whether it's with him discovering the codex, or with him discovering everything on the ship, with him talking to his mom, regaining his humanity with Lois, with him learning his powers when he's learning to fly for the first time. I mean, that alone is a huge scene of growth. Um, he immediately, like, he didn't want to go out and stop Zod and, save the world, but he knew that he was the only one who could. And so there's a lot of visual and physical growth through that. Like, scene by scene, he's learning how to fight. He's learning how to use these newfound powers.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of character development. It just happens at a breakneck speed, and people don't look at the little details that happen. And there's a lot that happens in development without lines, without script. There's a lot of him reacting just like.
Why do we need a fat bag of exposition?
Right, exactly. I will save some of the time and agree with everything you said. Dan, what do you have to offer with the character development?
Anyone that says that, like, I will find you. Like, I don't know, like the whole film, like the best way, like he already pretty much hit like all the same points that I would say, but like the whole film can almost be like summed up in 2 scenes for like character development. Is like when he's like fighting the world eater or changer or whatever, and like he's at the ground and looks up, like he
Becoming
completely
Superman.
changes. Yeah, like you said, he becomes Superman. But at the same time, we also see like
Super Saiyan Superman.
all like Superman's powers like developing throughout this whole film of however long it is, hour and 40 minutes or whatever. We see all these powers that he like realizes and figures out how to use, and that's his like character development. And like you said, the other ones are their cookie cutter, the Kryptonians, and we see like how quickly he finds out his powers. Like he literally just tears off his armor, General Zod, and just like floats up. Like he instantly, that's the character development for the film. Like we have the whole film to see Superman develop.
And I'd break it into, we get 3 Clarks. We get Clark on the run with all his different jobs, and then we get like when he meets Lois and he's talking to her and he says that my dad died believing that the world wasn't ready for me. What do you believe? And then we get him becoming Superman. It is like the shift of character between him accepting his role, and so there's plenty of character development, and there's a lot leading up to that before we get into the last third act, which is not character development centric, but we got all of that prior so that we could have this fight, enjoy it, and relish it.
Becoming an X-Man.
Yeah,
I mean it's the exact
accepting
thing,
your role.
Yeah, because he came in as just a bar junkie who was defending himself, and all of a sudden he explodes into saving the world from a force that wants to turn everybody into mutants. Like
There's a lot of mutated fish in that bay. Let's not lie.
the tons, but he knew what he had, didn't know what to do with it. I mean, and even though he had been around forever, just needing to grow into a role that he was slapped with, accepting the role that he was slapped with, becoming one with the role that he was slapped
And
with.
going Man of Steel, or going to Dan, it's relatable because it's that idea of finding your place in the world. I think everyone can relate to. Is there anything that you think about the character development?
I mean, we're all missing one big thing. Humanity accepted an alien.
Yeah.
That's a huge character development right there. I mean, his dad's idea was that the world wasn't ready for him.
That's like the United States and Mexico. I'm just kidding. To all of our viewers.
I mean, soldiers are trained to protect us, right? From things that we don't understand. But what did they do? Drop down their guns.
That is a big moment. He says, "This man is not our enemy."
Yeah, this
That's
one is not
the
our
biggest
enemy.
character development right
I'm
there.
glad you could pick something up through
Okay.
us just like vomiting throughout the movie.
That's like a great point too. That's her first time watching that, and she
And
even
picked
picked
up on it. Yeah.
like that.
They
And
like
that's
the
something that like I've kind of
humanity
even
accepted.
overlooked.
And there's
though,
people that
'cause I've
watch it
looked
5 times and they're like, "There's no character development. Nothing happens in this. It's just buildings coming down."
Humanity dropped everything. It was like, you are on our side, and we have to accept you before we lose you.
All right, I'm gonna trigger you guys. Are you ready? Full blown triggered.
Trigger.
All right.
Let's go.
pull it.
Multiple times on multiple different forums and throughout the internet, I hear that this movie has, like most of the other DC films, a very weak villain.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Thank you.
I mean, I
Like-
could use my same response.
Yeah.
I will find you.
Well, here's what I have to say.
I'm gonna let you guys just take this one because I've fought for this movie for years.
Zod wasn't all that much a villain. He was a hero fighting for his own cause.
Which makes the best villains.
which makes the best villains.
Because there's a difference between an
To-
antagonist
yeah.
and a villain.
To Earth, to Superman, to Jor-El, Zod became a villain,
Right.
Because he had a purpose that he had to follow through with. You know, he was Vegeta, Prince of Saiyans. You know, like he wanted. I mean, again, I know I said it, but he had to
Goku and Zod are Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah, like
Except
if-
for we never get to like Zod.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean, Zod at the same time is such a connectable character. You realize he's burdened with great purpose.
But you also can't hate God as a character.
But you exactly that. You cannot hate him. That's just not his character. We're talking about him as a villain. Name a better villain in the DC universe so far. Like Doomsday was this.
Glob.
he's one of the only ones
was
that's
this
not
mold-
CGI.
Yeah, like exactly that. Like except for his head and the armor felt very CG, but
Yeah,
Doomsday.
so did Mark
was-
Ruffalo in Infinity War.
Well, I think the question was like all the villains in DC are just like this goes in with all the other ones that they're just weak,
Well,
as opposed to Marvel or anything else. Like
I mean,
Yeah,
exactly
because
that.
they
Like
have weak
in
villains.
Iron Man 1, we get Obadiah Stane, you know, which is detrimental to Iron Man's growth. In this, we get Zod, which is detrimental to Superman's growth. Like, who else were they going to give us? Lex Luthor in the beginning? Then we never would have really gotten.
It would have been like our
experience anything.
sixth movie with Lex Luthor.
It would have been like our sixth movie. So we got a fresh villain. We got somebody who could go toe to toe with Superman. You know, it felt like Superman kept having to reach his limit break over and over and over again. And Zod lost everything and was willing to take it all. And I mean, what was the last time we got to see that in a villain? Frieza in Resurrection F is like, I'm losing, I'm blowing up your fucking world. Like that is the only. And I know I just brought up Dragon Ball Z again just because Superman and Dragon Ball Z is always so comparable.
Well,
But-
Goku is a ripoff of Superman, hardcore.
Yeah, get ready to piss off your fans. But I mean, Zod, I feel like, I mean, not only did he have great purpose, you know, he was a general who was doing his duty from beginning to the very end. And when he lost everything, when he lost his entirety and his whole existence, of course
He did what any general would do.
He not only did what any general would do, he did what any conscious being would do, and that's to tear down everything that took your everything away from you.
Right.
And if that's not a villain, or if that's not a strong character, I don't know what is.
And I will give you your turn. I just want to say the one line from Zod that breaks down that he is a great villain is that the line at the end before he fights Kal-El, and he says that every act I take, no matter how cruel, is for the greater good of my people. And now I have no people. And that is like, go ahead.
I mean, I don't really.
I'm sorry to keep doing this.
No,
to you.
no, it's
It's
like,
like-
that's it.
That's it.
Except for you forgetting this in the quote.
Oh
no.
my god. Oh.
But no, I mean you hit all the points.
No
so
invite back.
he's-
how do you feel about Zod as a villain?
I mean, what makes a great villain? He was in Superman's arms, knowing that he was gonna die, but still about to kill people. You're a villain right there. You're about to
What's
kill.
the line? There's only one way this ends. Either you
You
die
die
or I do.
die.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like either I kill these people or I'm gonna die killing these people. What makes a villain? That.
He
Like,
was sending
people.
himself out. It was like a
Yeah.
forced suicide. He's like, just I'm
gonna
either
die.
gonna win or I'm gonna lose. I
Like,
don't know.
kill me now or kill me later is your choice.
I don't know if you noticed that the text box blew up because Kelsey found our stream.
Oh, geez.
Oh, what you have to say?
Let's see. Let me get to the next topic. She has to say a lot of
But
things.
he was a bad general.
Fight me.
How was he?
Like
bad?
he led people
All
not necessarily with the intent of, hey, we're gonna come here and we're gonna take over the world, but I mean he was after his own goal, not worrying about what the goal of the people on his ship and the people on his team was.
Which I feel
He
like
had a
everyone
really small
before that
army, though.
caused
But he had a small army, so
Mhm.
he had loyal followers that we didn't need any background on.
He was a
Kelsey.
general of a handful of people.
and he was a general of a handful of people. He wasn't the general of this huge Kryptonian force, you know.
I like that. She says, of all the problems I have with this movie, the neck break is not something I have a problem with. Good.
That's good.
Semi-rational.
Thank you for being so involved in
Okay.
this too, by the way.
Metropolis destruction in the final fight. A lot of people have an issue with that. I think we discussed many times while watching
Yeah.
the movie, but if there's any final thoughts you want to have on that,
I mean, Metropolis was already destroyed.
that's
Yeah.
my point. Is like the world engine, him fighting Zod. Yes, and buildings went down, so people might have died. But if
That's-
the world engine had ran 5 minutes longer, three
Well,
times as many people would have been
Not
dead,
only 3 times that many people, the world engine was terraforming the planet.
making it
the
unlivable.
The whole planet would have died.
Right.
So, what's a skirmish in the big city really gonna do? And I mean, it's just as comparable as saying, right at the end of Avengers, the very first thing they brought up, or even in Civil War, and
Leviathans.
in Winter Soldier, they're talking about the Avengers. They show up, they cause destruction to this land, and then they leave, and we're left with this mess. When they fail to realize, it's not the heroes that are causing this destruction. The destruction is happening whether you want it to or not.
Right.
These heroes are just the only ones you have to point the finger at because the ones they stopped are already gone. And
Boom.
and that's exactly what Metropolis was like. Everything was already being destroyed. He had to stop what was being destroyed. He couldn't worry about, this person paid $400 billion for this building. He had to worry about, hey, this guy's going to destroy this whole fucking world.
And who
I have to stop
complains?
him.
Who complains about the collateral damage of Hulk and Hulkbuster in Age of Ultron? Nobody. They
No,
just shit on Man of
No.
Steel.
Everybody does. Maybe not the fans watching the movie, but the civilians in the film itself.
Right.
Banner destroying Wakanda was a huge issue. Again, the Avengers and the Chitauri fight wrecking New York. That became the entire
inside
plot.
the movie. It's an
Yeah,
issue.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm saying fans that watch Man of Steel versus Marvel fans that are watching the Marvel movies don't talk about the destruction of Marvel films.
Yeah. Oh, Hulk's mental Hulk around and destroy everything. Okay, and he's not a hero at that point. Hulk destroys everything. Why is he less responsible for destroying stuff than Superman, who's
Because they're bright and
actively
colorful.
trying to stop? Yeah.
Even before that, when they're in the small city, like you said, it's literally Superman just trying his best to defend and save these
Yeah,
people.
he's outmatched, outgunned in every form. It's literally like trying to contain the damage.
It's them throwing him through buildings and stuff like that. It's not Superman purposely destroying these. So
Yeah, it's not like they can have 40-minute talk and then next time on Dragon Ball Z moment, and decide that they're gonna fight elsewhere. It's then and now. It's sorry, hold on a minute. Superman, like you said, was trying to contain everything, doing the best he could, and he didn't have time to care about what was around, only who was around.
Right.
And that could have been said about Metropolis. That could have been said about Smallville. I mean, that could have been said about his own little farm. That could have been said about Zod's ship. Anywhere Superman was that he had to fight, all he could think about was he has to save who he can. Otherwise, way more are going to die for him not doing anything.
And everyone's like, "Oh, Superman should have taken Zod away from the fight." It's like nothing about that fight was on Superman's terms. Not 1 second of that was like he was in control of until he had Zod right here. That was the first time he was in control. You thought something. I saw it.
So, as we've seen in the movie, as Superman is fighting Zod, we're forgetting that humans are getting into the fight. There's helicopters there. There's human interaction there. How is Superman supposed to stop the villains if there's human interaction interfering with what they're doing? Where humans are blaming the superheroes for it, but they're forgetting that they're adding on to the destruction themselves.
They're becoming the damage.
And the collateral
Because it's literally they're using the weapons against us, and it's causing the damage. The more stuff that we're involved
You're talking about like the missile that go
The
into
missile
the
let it go.
and spun back. Yeah.
But then-
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
you see the jets too, and they're still trying to attack you.
Yeah,
even
they
though
show that in
see it.
BVS
Alright,
too. You see
Yeah,
the
the
jet
missiles,
flying.
the jets, the helicopters, the tanks.
And
You
have
know-
to stop fighting to go save somebody because they have to be involved.
Yeah, like Superman goes out of his way to catch, the fallen soldier instead of stopping Feora, or they have to go out of their way to stop a missile from taking out
He
somebody
saves like
else.
5 separate people during the Smallville fight. Like the guy from Law and Order that was about to get in a knife fight. He charged Feora. Then he caught that guy out of the plane. He's like,
all because the military thinks they can do anything at all.
Which they
and they're
should
shooting
notice.
at him the whole time.
They should have noticed from the very first shot when they tried shooting them. Their armor is bulletproof. Why are you still shooting?
The funny thing is, so is their skin. I watched Superman take a military bullet to the head and go, "Ow," and
Exactly
like,
that. This is like we're not noticing. Like humanity is not noticing that we're doing the most damage more than the superheroes are.
How many buildings went down when they started opening fire on Smallville?
Where the ant, there the boot.
All right, I understood that reference. The final topic, because one topic was like Superman killing, but I think we kind of covered that we're all pretty okay for the most part with.
Better than Batman killing everyone in BVS.
Pretty much.
Okay. So I think the final topic is the one that I get closest to agreeing with, which is how they handle Lois and Clark's relationship. And that would be the last hot button, because a lot of people are not fans of it. I middle ground. I'd given them like a 5.5 on handling it. But
yeah, I would agree. Like 5.5. It just doesn't feel like there's that much chemistry, I guess, in a way. Like it feels kind of forced in a way. Like, here's your match made in heaven. Like we already know you two are getting together. It's like, now kiss. Like
right. It's not. You appreciate this. It's not Barry and Iris on the Flash. They didn't build. They didn't make their way to it. There's a forced makeout session that it didn't, and they're living together by the second one.
Well, honestly, it's very much like that. Like, we could have the movie where Lois was just an investigative reporter following Superman. Yeah, she might have kind of crushed on him a little bit, but where was the romance at all? Like, there was none, and then all of a sudden they're together and they're kissing. Like,
I think it was the kiss that threw me off. Like them building a relationship and getting to know each other situationally was fine.
Was fine. Like their relationship through the movie felt fine. It felt genuine. It felt like how it would have built up. And the final crush shouldn't have happened until she saw him as Clark in the office when he came to work for the Daily Planet.
Agreed.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, everybody wants romance and everything, but this could have gone the entire movie without needing any of that. We had Martha and Jonathan. That's all the romance we needed. We had Zod for Krypton. That's all the actual romance we needed. We didn't need this forced relationship between Lois and Clark just because of the fact that it already existed. And there was no romantic build. Why were they kissing in the middle of destroyed Metropolis?
I think we would have more impact. That last scene when he screams out agony after he kills Zod and she comes up to him and just kind of embraces him and he leans on her. I think that could have done way more without the kiss. Like it was just like that was them having that moment to kind of bond and be like, I understand you. I'm here for you. You've saved me. I owe you this. I'm going to be your comfort. That didn't feel out of place at all. The kiss was like, hey, that's really awkward. Your kissing's awkward. Your dialogue's awkward. It's all really weird. Wow, we gotta.
This thing is blowing.
I can't wait to get home and read through all these because, but we're getting close to wrapping up here. Did you have any other thoughts about Lois and Clark?
Lewis and Clark.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we already had a TV series that was just Lois and Clark. But no, I like Amy Adams. I like Henry Cavill. I think they're both excellently casted. It sucks because I brought up earlier before we'd actually watched the movie that
just don't give her a spear.
Well, yeah. No, honestly, exactly that. Like, you hear the sigh from
humanity killing us more than anything.
You hear the sigh from everybody, like, simultaneously in the room. No, Amy Adams felt like such a strong character in this movie. She felt like the reporter that we needed.
She really spearheaded the investigation.
Yeah, shut up. She felt like the like the Superman sidekick throughout Man of Steel. She had so much growth. She had so much independence. Like, she relied on Superman the same amount that Superman relied on her, and that was awesome. We got so much out of her.
She did get to save him
as Lois. She got to save him. She wasn't the damsel in distress the entirety of the movie.
The entirety.
Yeah, but in BVS and
she retreated back to being the damsel in distress.
Justice League, not even that. They Natalie Portman'd her, where she was only there for the
tough
sake.
words.
Yeah, no, I said it, and Amy Adams is great, but so is Natalie Portman. But just like with her in Thor: The Dark World, and her popping up in Avengers as a picture, or even just being the name Jane Foster, like they were only there because of their previous existence, and she didn't need to be there otherwise. There was nothing she was doing for the story. Like Alfred did more in BVS and Justice League than Lois Lane did.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of my issue with the relationship and with how
either have her be in there and be relevant, or maybe don't have her in there for a movie because trying to
just put her there because she's there. Just like having Perry White there just to have Perry White there. Like, yeah, the Daily Planet had opened up strong, they were investigating Lex Luthor, you could have cut out with that without killing off Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, which is, if Ultimate Edition is canon, which I think it is, then bye, Jimmy. Man of Steel, everybody. You know what? I'm curious. Just does anyone have like numbers for like how they feel about the movie out of 10?
Honestly, out of 10 for what I was given, I'd give it a 9.5 only because of the kiss. But if we, no.
It's a hard hitting kiss.
Honestly, if we got rid of that kiss, for me it's a clean 10 just because, like I had mentioned earlier in this conversation, I felt like we got the director, the producer, the costume designers, the choreographers. I felt like we got each and every one of their perspectives on the movie. Nothing felt like the studio was stepping in and wanting to rewrite everything last second. Nothing felt like a week before production was wrapping up, they were going, and I don't even know or care what the comment is. Like, Man of Steel felt like a complete movie. It set a clean foundation for DC to work on. It had a stronger opening than fucking Iron Man did, and I don't know, it gave us the exact Superman origin that I could have possibly wanted. So, I don't know. Like, I felt like DC got weaker after this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was kind of like
Wonder Woman kind of came back up.
Yeah.
But what's Aquaman gonna do? What is Shazam gonna do? Are they gonna follow the same suit that Suicide Squad and
if
Justice
Aquaman
League
and Shazam are like Wonder Woman, Man of Steel quality, you kind of get some of these. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we're gonna be way higher. But if we have just another shitty like CG villain, like if Patrick Wilson isn't legit the same way Zod was, then what is going to be the point of the Aquaman movie?
There's a cool thing is we have a human villain in both movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say like being like one of my favorite films, like as a fan of the film, like obviously 10 out of 10, but like as a film critic, like if I like sit
that's
there
a fair way to look
and
at it.
nitpick it, like
that's
like
fair.
we've talked about before, like the tornado scene, like I'll nitpick just that scene. Like if I like zone out, watch the film, 10 out of 10. If I sit there and like break it down, I would say like a strong, solid 7.8.
Wow, that's a
like
big
not
gap.
such an 8, but it's definitely not low 7s.
Wait, how are you gonna give Superman Returns a 6 and this movie a 4? You're gonna leave, good sir.
You get out of here. All right. I would say close to what you're saying. I'm gonna say 9.5, like Alex, for like the fan in me and like the loving it. And I'm only gonna drop down for a 9 as a general audience rating because my nitpicks are like I could tear up a lot of other movies a lot worse.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Movies that I really like. I can tear Infinity War more than I can tear Man of Steel. Sorry. But Infinity War is still really impressive. So, first time impressions. That's what we're most looking forward to hearing.
I would give it an 8.
That is not bad
That's
at all.
surprising.
Yeah, it's better than your friggin' 2.
For somebody who doesn't like Superman, that is a very high score.
That is a high praise. That is really high praise.
If I were somebody that does not read comics, that is just watching this on a film,
Just on an entertainment level.
as a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
But
You guys are hating us right now.
but as somebody who knows the backstory, knows everything,
Sure.
there's too much stuff that's missing from
They
this film.
it's missing or it's changed.
Or
I
it's
understand.
changed,
What do we
and it's
got?
just
Infinity War has a ton of issues.
hey,
It was-
there was a ton of issues in Infinity War.
It was a great
Where's
movie.
the Wakanda technology?
Yeah.
There was a trailer with Hulk in the
I wouldn't-
Hulkbuster
I-
that
no,
we
I
did
mean,
not
we-
get.
well, no,
But
replaying-
hold on.
But replying to that comment, I wouldn't say like Infinity War has more issues. It's just so much more going on and so many more characters. It's
exactly.
easier to
There's 3
nitpick
stories.
as opposed to just
But we're
one
comparing-
character.
It was Return of the King. There was
So-
3 stories that they're
Okay.
trying to give us all at one time. It was great. I walked out feeling complete. Don't
I
get me wrong,
opened up
I
a
felt
can of
empty.
worms. I'm sorry.
But-
I opened
Alright,
up a
let's
can of
just
worms.
end
Yeah,
it.
fuck you, Jesse. You
Sorry.
started this.
Let's just end the discussion. Just
Yeah. Did half of you guys go away? And your complaints?
Damn
Now
it.
it's still there? Damn, we'll try again next time.
Let's do this. 2 different universes. Let's not compare it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I didn't mean
And-
to.
I know.
My bad.
Here, I'll clear the table real quick, Kelsey. I know, and I don't know who the other person in the room is.
I thought that was Bryce. But I'm
Um,
not sure.
Oh, if it's Bryce,
Well, he
it
says
is.
Wonder Woman isn't good. That's got to be Bryce.
it's got to be Bryce. But
You can't even compare the
Dude, I
movies.
mean, honestly,
guys, yeah, no, you really can't. Like she said, it's separate universes. Guys, I know that before we even watched this, we were gonna be getting the hate from y'all. I mean, we knew when the podcast built
Wait.
up.
Who typed you fucked up? That's Fansplash. I'm confused.
We just
I think that's
stay
you,
quiet.
man. Anyways,
I don't know.
we already knew we were on opposing sides on this.
Tyler must be on the account posting for us.
There we go.
Oh yeah, because we're not even typing.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's fucking Bryce.
Well, no, but I mean the right here.
No.
coming from Fansplash,
I'm saying the
Tyler.
one calling out Tyler.
He's posting.
Obviously, Tyler. Yeah, it's posting as Fansplash. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the Man of Steel discussion. We're yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we obviously come from two different sides of the coin, and so some of us like it, some of us don't. That'll be any film.
Clearly,
That'll
I
be
hate it.
that'll be any film. That'll be any franchise, any TV series. Doesn't matter what it is. So your opinions, hey, they're fair. You know they're wrong, but they're fair.
I feel like you
no,
said
but I a lot of this is how we feel about the movie. I think that's the whole purpose of Fan Splash is we're all fans of something. We either appreciate it or we don't. We don't all have to appreciate the same things, and I feel like that's what makes us what we are. Is we can all bring something to the table. So honestly, thank you guys for having the comments you have about
I love
not
all the
liking
feedback.
the movie because that's awesome. I mean, we like it, you don't, and that gives us more to talk about. I think.
Yeah.
And one thing I want really to open up in the comments. I'm sorry that we missed so much. Like it just kind of exploded out of nowhere.
I don't even
so-
think we noticed it for.
Yeah,
quite a
I think it probably
ways.
went like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden we're like, wow, there's a full discussion going on there. But leave down below, please, what movie should we do next? Like, and who should we get to do it? Like, what people would you like to see on the watch parties, and what movie seems like a good pick?
Yeah, I said a lot. Yeah, I said a lot, and nobody answered me. That's because you gave it such a bad rating.
Yeah. Iron Man 3 sucks. We'll move on. That's always our
Yes,
our
we know.
solace that we find. As me and Kelsey, whenever we argue about Man of Steel, we just take deep breaths and say, Iron Man 3 sucks, and then we're
As
okay.
Much as I
I-
love DC, like maybe we should venture into Marvel or something other. for the
I mean,
next watch party.
honestly, for comics, we really do stick in DC.
I'd love to watch a Hellboy movie. Let's
Yeah.
watch Hellboy.
See, something
let's
maybe-
not watch Hellboy 2 because that was awful.
No, but
Spawn.
let's get Shane over here and let's watch the first Hellboy. For curiosity's sake, yeah, baby, I would watch Spawn again.
It definitely doesn't like.
Wait,
We're
let's
coming-
do
so
Winter
good.
Soldier. Hey, Kelsey, that's actually a good decision. Winter Soldier
I'll
was
pass on that one.
Oh,
Get-
Winter Soldier, I will be erect the entire time. Okay,
no, exactly that. Like Winter Soldier was a perfect movie.
my
And up to the Pikachu fight on the helicarrier.
I just don't like.
Like, it's
Captain
so good.
America.
my top 3 movies of comic book movies are Winter Soldier, Man of Steel, and Logan. Let's watch Logan.
Logan, I can only watch it one time. I feel like just because
It hurts.
it gave me everything I needed to from beginning to end.
I bought it and I've watched it 3 times since I bought it. I like crying. All right,
I
guys.
don't.
Man of Steel talk. That was it. Thank you for joining us so much. Yeah.
I agree. We should do Hellboy.
That would be cool. All right. Thank you.
Let's do Street Fighter.
Thank you for joining. Oh my God, Street Fighter. Let's watch an animated Street Fighter movie. We could go on and on. There's a lot of suggestions. Leave them down below. We want to do more podcasts, more watch parties, all that good stuff. So until next time, guys, from Dan, myself, Alex, and Julie, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome to have you on the podcast.
YouTube Genji.
Good job,
There we
Genji.
go.
Good job. Thank you,
The
buddy.
unsung hero.
Can you please give the Genji impersonation?
Oh,
that was not
no,
racist
no.
at all.
You're trying to do
Genji.
Hanzo, which is real Ugataki no Kurao.
Yeah, Overwatch. All right, guys. We'll see you next time on the Fansplash channel. May the film be with you.
Oh, yeah. May the force be with you.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, is live long and prosper this or this?
That's a good note to end on.
Okay.